Hi guys, it's Chloe and welcome back to my channel. But today I'm going to be talking about going to the dentist and how I picked my dentist, etc. And I'm super excited to get into this video. And on that note, we're going to get started. So, first off, why I needed to go to the dentist. So, I just needed to get a standard cleaning. I didn't need anything major like a root canal or whatever. Just a standard cleaning. This next part, I'm going to be talking about insurance. So if you do not have insurance and or you do not wish to get insurance, you can scrub over this and go to the next section. Everything will be timestamped, so you can just click on the next timestamp and start there. There's a couple different ways you can get health insurance. So number one is through Medicaid, which is state funded insurance for low income individuals or low income individuals that are blind and disabled or elderly. And then number two is Medicare, which is basically for elderly people or disabled people, either on SSI or any other type of Social Security for 2 years. And then number three, private insurance through the exchange or the marketplace, whatever it's called in your state. And basically, that allows you to get plans from big name brands for basically a lower cost. And it's for people that are not working or are working and are not offered health insurance. And then there are commercial plans that you get while you're working or someone in your family is working and you're a dependent. And then last but certainly not least, this is very uncommon for the general population. However, a lot of people with spina bifida that are around my age got it this way, like their health insurance. And that is the Veterans Administration. And you may be thinking, huh? But allow me to explain. I'm going to do a basic brush over of this. I'm going to yeet an article into the description for you guys to read if you are more interested in this. Basically, what ended up happening was the US during the Vietnam War, they used a chemical called Agent Orange to kill off the Vietnamese. And a researcher in the United States researched Agent Orange and found out that if anybody came in contact with it, then their children, unborn children, would be at a more increased risk of having spina bifida or a similar neural tube defect. The US found out about it and they stopped using Agent Orange, but the people that already were exposed were giving their kids spina bifida, and therefore the Veterans Administration made up a health insurance plan for them where they get health insurance benefits for life. And there's no way through like a test or like imaging or whatever to prove that the individual got spina bifida as a result of Agent Orange. So therefore, all you have to do is say that you were in, like, show proof that you were in the war during that time, and then you get the benefit. But again, if you want to read more upon that, I'll put a link down below. And basically, with a lot of Medicaids, I know with my state that I live in, Georgia, they don't cover dental exams. And then Medicare, I'm not sure if they do. They may under Part C and D, but you have to buy those separately. With the exchange plans, they do cover dental and vision, but when you go to buy off the exchange, you have to say that you want that stuff too. And then with like the employee ones, it ultimately depends on your employer. Some will cover it, some won't, or some will have those optional plans for you to get as well. And then the Veterans Administration, I'm not exactly sure about, but I got mine through the exchange and I just went and I filled everything out. I ultimately decided to buy my own instead of attaching myself as a disabled dependent on my mom's, because I pay a little bit more every month to pay a little less for dental and vision. So there are a couple different ways that you can find out what dentists are in your network. So, number one is, I know in my health insurance, there's an app that you can use, and it's basically your patient portal, health insurance consumer app, whatever you want to call it. And on there, you can find care, and it'll tell you what dentists are in network. And then number two is, there's a phone number on the back of the card, and you can always give them a call. Or number three, if you have a specific dentist in mind, you could get them a call and have them run your health insurance and see if they're in network. For me, though, with my last dental experience, it was at another practice. I wasn't particularly happy with it, and I basically was trying to swat their hand away when they tried to go in there and clean my teeth. And the woman that was working with me was very condescending, and it also just was like assistant, and the dentist only literally spent like 5 minutes with me, and I asked him questions and he just gave me like one worded answers, so I didn't really care for him. However, with my new dentist, how I found them was not sponsored, but there's a girl who lives in my county, and her parents run her a shirt shop business because she is autistic, and it's called Jordan Summer Shirt Project. I'll link them down below and stuff. But they had talked about on their socials a dentist that they went to. And just because of my past experience, you know, I wanted to find somebody that knew about autistic individuals and disabilities, etc., and that were kinder to them. And she did really well with them. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to give them a try. So I gave them a call and I asked if they were in network with my health insurance, and they said no. So I was like, okay. And then I literally gave my health insurance a call and I asked how much it would be for out of network. They had me fill out the paperwork online, which was awesome. And in one of the categories, they asked me if I had any of these life threatening conditions. And one of them was spina bifida. And I'm like, they must know about spina bifida. That's awesome. So, autism and spina bifida. Oh. But basically, I checked off all the boxes, got super excited to go, and then the morning of, my old dentist contacted me and said that my new dentist, I requested x-rays from them and my medical records. However, they couldn't send it over without an ROI, a release of information, and I had to fill that out and send it to them. And I'm thinking, you're choosing to do this the morning of my appointment? But yet again, I was transferring, so I'm pretty sure they didn't care and took their sweet time. I didn't have their fax number or the email of the dentist office that I was going to. So I literally had to hold off on everything until I got there. And I explained the situation and told them what I needed. And I literally yeeted everything in there. After everything was yeeted, after that, I gave them a phone call to let them know that I had filled out the paperwork and that they needed to send everything over, but they never answered. I went back inside and told them what happened, and they said, that's okay. And then I was called back, and I kid you not, but the first thing that their dental assistant says is, oh, what happened to your legs? Because I was wearing my leg braces and had my cane. The thing is that some disabled people don't like that term. And I understand she had good intentions because she is a doctor and has to say that. But she could have said, like, oh, I see you're wearing, braces and you have a cane. Do you have a medical condition that we need to be aware of? Or do you need any accommodations and stuff of the like? And I'm thinking, and then I got back there and they tried to do x-rays, and it was like this thing that they had to put in my mouth and I had to bite down on, and it had a stick with a circle on it, and they had to configure like the thing to like their x-ray machine to the circle. But I have a class 4 tongue and smaller airways, and it makes it really hard for me to do it without gagging. So they had this other machine that's similar to kind of like a mammogram, but you had to bite down on something, and they did a 360 scan around your head. So I got that done. And then I thought that was awesome, and that was super accommodating because my prior dentist couldn't do that. And then after they got done the x-rays, then I had to wait on the actual dentist to do a cleaning, which I thought was awesome because, again, at the prior practice, the assistant did everything and then the dentist came over, which I didn't really appreciate because the assistant was condescending. And I did tell her that I have, PTSD and stuff, and I get handy, and I tend to, my version of handy is when I swat away their hand and stuff like that. And basically, the dentist was really good with me. And she had said, do you realize, because she looked at my x-rays from the ones that I recently gotten. I don't know if she was able to look at my prior ones yet, but she's like, do you realize that on the bottom, I think it's these two teeth, but you still have some baby teeth. You have two, and there are no adult teeth underneath them. So you have to take very good care of them. And I'm thinking, moo, no one's ever told me that. Because I did go to a pediatric dentist. I got teeth braces, and I went to this adult dentist, and no one's ever said anything. Even after all my adult teeth were gone, and I was still seeing the pediatric dentist and getting braces, like teeth braces, no one had ever said anything. So then after that, she started cleaning my teeth, and she asked me how often I've been going to the dentist, and I said, oh, my dentist only wants to see me once. Like, my prior dentist wanted to see me once a year. And she goes, that's not right. You should be going every like 3 times a year at the very least, because you have a lot of plaque that gets up in your teeth. And I'm like, okay. So she started getting it off, but the problem is that she didn't have enough time to get it all off, so she only did the top, and then she said I'd have to come in a couple weeks to get the bottom done, and then she was going to add fluoride, and she was going to add and like brush my teeth again. And this time I was going to bring in my toothbrush and my floss pickers and show her how I do everything. And they didn't have flavorless toothpaste because she was able to brush the top of my teeth, but they did have other options, whereas my prior dentist, they only had mint toothpaste, and I couldn't handle that. Some tips and tricks to get through the dentist. Some of them I have used, and others other people have used in the past that I haven't used. But basically, I brought in my stuffed teddy bear, and I just held them the whole time. And I wasn't handy once with them because they were really like accommodating and stuff. Another thing you can do is a lot of times when they do x-rays and stuff, they will put a vest, like a weighted vest on you, so that none of the radiation gets on you. And what you can do is you can ask if they have one of those, and you can put it on yourself or your disabled individual to help them calm down. You can also do sedation dentistry, where your individual or yourself are put